Coming up on today's San Francisco 49ers report, my name is Chase Sr. Some bad injury news for the Niners going into this wild card tilt against the Eagles, which could impact the Niners offense. Robert Saleh continues to be a hot commodity for teams looking for a head coach, and the Bryce Huff trade compensation is official. What are the Niners sending the Eagles after that Bryce Huff trade? We'll get into that as well. But I do want to begin here. Competition brings the best out of everybody, and this Eagles-Niners rivalry has really started to pick up steam over the last couple of years because prior to the 2022 NFC Championship game, the Eagles and Niners had only met one time in history in the NFL playoffs, but these two teams don't like one another. These two fan bases don't like one another either. So we're pitting the two channels up against one another. Which channel can pick up the most subscribers this week? It's a playoff sub battle. Eagles now at 150 subscribers this week. The 49ers report at 155. Have some fun with it, and when you hit that sub button, you get daily and year-round coverage of the Niners. All right, let's begin here. Ricky Pearsall, unfortunately, according to Kyle Shanahan, re-aggravated the PCL injury in his knee. And the function of the PCL, when talking to doctors, to simplify it, it stabilizes the knee, which is important for a wide receiver, especially with route running and making cuts, being able to stop and start, which is a huge component and a big strength of Ricky Pearsall's game. And Pearsall suffered his initial PCL injury in Week 4 against the Jags on September 28th. That date is important because he did not return until Week 11 against Arizona on November 16th. So he missed nearly 2 months. On top of the PCL re-aggravation, Pearsall also injured his back of late and his ankle. And so if he re-aggravated a PCL injury that caused him to be out from Week 4 to Week 11, is he going to be able to play in this wild card game against the Philadelphia Eagles? If he is out, it is a huge loss for this Niners offense. And we saw that against the Seattle Seahawks on Saturday night because the Niners' lack of a vertical threat really hurt them against the Seahawks. Seattle was not bothered at all by the weapons in the pass game against San Francisco outside of George Kittle because there was nobody who threatened Seattle down the field. And these were the Niners wideouts without Pearsall. Juwan Jennings, not a speedster. Kendrick Bourne, not a speed demon. Demarcus Robinson, speed is not a component of his game. And this Eagles defense, just like Seattle, they defend like Velcro. A lot of sticky coverage. The Eagles have held opponents to the lowest completion percentage in the NFL at 56.5%. That is the Eagles' best mark since 2008. And the Eagles have allowed only 13 passing touchdowns. That was going into Week 18 when they played their backups, the fewest in the NFL. And so you combine that Eagles secondary, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean at corner, with the Eagles defensive line, which can really get after the quarterback, which has the edge over the Niners because they're better, more physical, more athletic, stronger, and more talented. It's a pretty lethal defense that Vic Fangio has. And if this Niners offensive line cannot hold up on Sunday, that's when things can get a little bit ugly. If the Niners, like they couldn't against Seattle, can't run the ball, can't pass the ball, and nothing was working for Kyle Shanahan when he even tried to call play action or move the pocket for Brock Purdy, it could just spell the end of the Niners season here. The strength of this Niners team and offense is the passing offense. And Purdy needs a vertical threat to maximize the passing offense for San Francisco. He also needs pass protection to be able to have time to throw the football downfield. And these Pearsall injury problems are really unfortunate because even before the gunshot last year, he dealt with a shoulder injury and a hamstring injury. And then this year, during training camp, had the hamstring, then he hurt his knee, now he's had the ankle, he's had the back. If you want a glass half full approach, he wasn't an injury-prone player at Arizona State or at Florida, but a concern I had going into the NFL, he's a little bit of a smaller player. And so far to start his career, take out the gunshot. He has been an injury-prone player. And the Niners can't continue to miss on some of these first-round picks. Hopefully Pearsall's not one of them. I think Mykel Williams is going to be a really good player. The Niners have seen how good he is as a run stopper. And Pearsall was off to a tremendous start this season, and you thought, man, he's going to have a breakout year. And I predicted that he was going to have a breakout campaign. Week 1 against Seattle, 7 targets, 4 catches, 108 yards, 27 yards per catch. He was big on that final drive for Purdy on the game winner. And then against the Saints, 6 targets, 4 catches, 56 yards, 14 yards per catch. Against the Cardinals, 11 targets, 8 catches, 117 yards. Against the Jags, 5 targets, 4 catches, 46 yards. During that time frame, he was top 5 in the NFL in yards per catch. So an explosive player downfield, and almost literally every one of his catches was going for a first down. And that brings me also to this. The formula for success for the Niners to pull off the upset against the Eagles on Sunday, if the Niners want to win this game, they're going to have to run the football efficiently and successfully. And they're going to have to keep that Eagles offense on the sideline and really dominate time of possession. It's going to be hard to neutralize this Eagles defense and their defensive line, but that's a formula for the Niners to have success and win this football game. This Eagles defense since week 8 is the number 1 scoring defense in the NFL. They're giving up only 14.5 points per game. Again, the number 1 mark in the NFL. But even during that stretch, Philadelphia has been prone to giving up some big games and performances and chunks on the ground. They're giving up during that stretch where they've been the number 1 scoring defense in the league, 122 rushing yards per game. The only problem for the Niners is that their yards per carry all year has been awful. It's been 3.8 on average in the regular season. That is 30th in the NFL. When the Niners were on that run of being the hottest offense in the NFL, when they beat Tennessee and then they beat Indy and Chicago, for the first time all year, Christian McCaffrey had running lanes. What changed against Seattle? There was nowhere for him to go. And this Eagles defense, similar to Seattle in that regard, where physically they can really beat you up. So what is your level of confidence in a Niners win on Sunday? I want you to scale it for me from 1 to 100. 1, not confident at all. 100, very, very confident. Chime in down below in the comment section. Still to come, Robert Saleh, a hot commodity for teams looking for a head coach. Bryce Huff trade compensation is official. We'll get to that here in just a moment. Let's get to our sponsor. Today's 49ers Report is brought to you by Prize Picks. Whether you're starting a new routine or making player picks for the first time, trying something new can be hard. But in life and on Prize Picks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure playoff matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never stops. And Prize Picks lets you take control. New feature alert, Prize Picks now has early payouts. If your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out of those winnings before the game even finishes. And with the new social feeds feature, you can share Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups from winners with a single click. Copy lineups you like or use them as inspiration for your own picks. You can even follow Prize Picks partners like us and tail or fade our picks with just one click. 4-pick power play for Sunday. A.J. Brown more than 65.5 receiving yards. Christian McCaffrey more than a half rushing or receiving touchdown. Dallas Goedert more than a half rushing or receiving touchdown as well. And then George Kittle more than 62.5 receiving yards. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, let's move ahead here. Robert Saleh is a hot commodity for teams looking for an NFL head coach during this upcoming hiring cycle. These following teams are showing interest in Saleh. The Arizona Cardinals have requested an interview with the Niners defensive coordinator, and then the Tennessee Titans expected to show interest. In addition to the Las Vegas Raiders, the Raiders were very interested in Saleh during the last cycle. They elected to go with Pete Carroll after they didn't get Ben Johnson, but they were very impressed with Saleh during that interview process. According to reports, they even offered Saleh an opportunity to be the DC for Pete Carroll, then to be the heir apparent once Carroll, who's older, would step away. Obviously, with Pete Carroll, he got fired after 1 year. It was a disaster, and the Raiders now have the number 1 pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Here's what Jeremy Fowler had to say about Saleh, that he could be a player for multiple head coaching jobs. Tennessee and Las Vegas come to mind. Saleh is expected to get an interview with the Titans, and he acquitted himself in his Raiders interviews last year. I'll say this. If I'm Saleh, given what happened to me with the New York Jets and what happened to Saleh. Obviously, I'm not Robert Saleh. My name is Chase Sr. But if I'm Robert Saleh and I'm in his shoes, the job that I would want is with the Baltimore Ravens, given what happened with the New York Jets, right? The Jets, awful owner, no organizational stability, no quarterback. What do the Ravens have? Great owner, great GM, stability. They are competitive every single year. They're one of the best, most well-run organizations in the sport. They always have a defensive identity. That's what they hang their hat on. It's been the case ever since the turn of the century, right? And they also have Lamar Jackson. Robert Saleh never had a Lamar Jackson. And the offense was the undoing of the Jets when he was the head coach there, not the defense. And so this is why I think Robert Saleh can be a good head coach once again if he gets another opportunity. The Titans, the Raiders, the Cardinals, all interested as of right now. Robert Saleh is a great culture setter. Look at what he's done with the turnaround of this Niners defense this year compared to under Nick Sorensen last year, when the Niners defensively were a mess. The likes of Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Deommodore Lenoir saying that Saleh and his meetings are so detail-oriented, a big switch from a year ago. Saleh is also a great communicator. You need that as a head coach. He's an elite defensive mind, and he adapts to the current constructs of modern-day offenses. He gets buy-in from players. That's what you need as a head coach at the NFL level. And the job that he did in 2025, to adapt, to evolve, to have to adapt in season to all the players that he missed, to have this defense still playing well and surviving, being a part of a team that won 12 games after losing Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. A lot of other teams would fold. They would collapse. They would unravel at the seams. That didn't happen with San Francisco, and he helped to develop a lot of young players. As for some Bryce Huff trade compensation, the Niners will send the Eagles a 2026 fifth-round pick because Huff did not reach 8 sacks. If Huff got to 8 sacks, then the Eagles would have gotten a fourth-round pick back for Bryce Huff, who they gave $34 million in guaranteed money to 2 off seasons ago. We thought that Huff was going to get there, right? I mean, in the first 7 games of the year, he was a great compliment to Nick Bosa when he was playing, even though Bosa got hurt, and Bryce Huff was playing well. He had 4 sacks in the first 7 games. In his final 8 games, Bryce Huff did not register a single sack. We'll see what he can do against his former team, but this here backs up that Bryce Huff is a Robin. He's not a Batman. He is a better player when he can be that sidekick, not leading the charge. That's just not who he is, and that's fine. Be sure to give me a follow on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Chase_Senior. You can find me on all these social media platforms because I'm giving you even more Niners coverage over there.